above here, this switch to our power supply, to our actual cabinet with our tablet, and then our surge protector underneath. This is all of our equipment. This controls that device that is not part of this system right here, just conveniently right next to it. So when we talk about our system, we're talking about this cabinet, this power supply, and this switch. If I have a reference, hey, if the tablet's down, do I have a light at my surge protector, because this thing will hold battery for a certain amount of time, and then obviously if we don't see this green light here, we know that we're dead. And functionally, this is just a Windows Surface Pro tablet, is all it is. So it's not designed, from HVAC use. We put our programs onto this system, so it will die out typically as a tablet will. If we ever do lose power, we have a power button, which is just up here on the top, and this casing has a little divot for you to reach your finger in there, and then off the side you could actually see just a USB connection here, which is how we communicate to our router. Now when I open this up, I'll kind of show you what we have going on the inside. Not that we're going to make any adjustments to any of these things, but in here we have some good information that we'll need to reference. So we have our iView login. Now this is the carrier system, the carrier iView login, which is actually going to separate from the Windows password, which is underneath. So again, as a tablet is a tablet, it has its own login like you would at your computer, and both the user and the password for the Windows is HVAC, all lowercase. And that's, again, if we do lose power, we have to re-swipe in, that's fine. Now that's that password versus our iView login password, which is still very similar, but our user is HVAC, and then our password is actually HVAC1234, all lowercase.
Now, will this tablet ever have to be like rebooted or anything like that? Just if do you anticipate it freezing or anything like that?
No. If we did have a power surge and we did lose power, and this thing, held on, we weren't able to get here in time, and the tablet did die out, we actually have software in the tablet that when it does reboot, it actually reboots our system. So just having hands on it, knowing how to navigate to the system will actually be one of the valuable parts. I'll show you about here in a minute. That's my card I left in there, and I have a handful of them if you guys want some.
Just gonna take selfie record, yeah. That's all.
Yep. And then when we do a little bit of talking inside of our cabinet, this is our carrier router. Similar to a router in your house, this is where everything is configured. We have our network switch here, which I believe we're waiting on a Ethernet connection to get us live to the internet, so we can do work remote and stuff like that. But that's our switch here, and then this is just a controller that we use to control some of the exhaust fans and other options, but for that, what we're using now, this controls exhaust fan 10 and 11. Now, everything that's in here is live. We do have 24 volts in here. Obviously, we're coming down from the transformer, so we won't be in here kind of messing with too many switches and plugs and stuff like that. But if we're checking, we have our system and our network light here, which is blinking green, a solid green, which is good. If it's not blinking, if it's blinking orange, we're not communicating. And then we have our port 1 and 2, which are our network ports that communicate with our devices, and we do have those systematically flashing back and forth. So it's kind of letting us know, hey, we're sending, we're receiving signals, and everything is active. So on a troubleshoot purpose, if we encounter some devices not communicating, we can kind of just open this and reference and work through some of these lights. They do have a sequence on it, not something that we keep in the tablet, but if you did reach out to us, we can try and troubleshoot that way.
How much can you do remotely once you've got the Ethernet connection?
Everything that you can do from this tablet right here, you can do remote. So now I'll close this up again. That's all we have that in here. It is important that we keep everything plugged in. This is our power supply for the tablet as we work backwards. So as long as we have power, we'll be able to navigate through everything.
So what's the white USB that's not plugged?
This is we were working remote through Wi-Fi of a tablet.
Oh, okay.
And that's just an iPhone charger.
That plug's there in case he wants to plug his phone in and keep listening to music while he's working.
Now, it says extraction fan 10 and 11.
Correct, exhaust fans 10 and 11.
Yep. Do you know which rooms those are or where those are at?
I would have to reference the print to go through that, but I could reference the print. We could walk through it. I believe, I just don't want to quote it wrong, there's an exhaust fan on the flip side of this room. There's a smaller. We could walk the rooms and check, but they're both actually right here on this side of the hallway, I believe, if I'm not. So
now, would you get a notification if something goes down? So say those exhaust fans, one of them goes out or whatever, would the system
Like send me a message.
send you a message, or is it set up to send one of us a message, or all of us? Or?
So it doesn't work through like text message and stuff like that, or even emails. It doesn't send you a message. I'm going to show you how to navigate through the screens, and you can reference, do we have any alarms, and there's a couple values that we'll want to check. We have transducers on the fans, so that we're actually not going to recognize status until that fan is spinning. So if for some reason we're telling it to command, we have the breaker on, everything is on, and the fan's not spinning, I'll be able to tell you the fan's not spinning from right here.
Okay, so what's gonna alert us if something goes wrong? Like,
There are no
just stops
external,
working?
it's just gonna be maintenance, I guess, not necessarily maintenance, but monitoring the system.
Okay.
So when you can connect remotely, can one of us connect remotely too? Like
Yes.
just to do an access, so is there an app or something where, like, okay, there's no alert, but if you just said, oh, for shits and grins, I'm gonna see if everything's
monitor
working,
it.
Yeah.
you can monitor it.
Yeah, so we would do all of our work via IP, which I have in here as well. So I have
Okay.
the IP for the router, and then the iView IP itself. That's what you're gonna wanna go ahead and access when we are working remotely, is the IP.
So it'd be good to set that up just so that, you know, if you wanna,
Can we
you
just
wanna
make it a
check
shortcut? Yeah, just type it in and then make
Yeah.
it a shortcut.
Yeah.
So we can get-
Is there a way that we can set it up so there's some sort of audible alarm or something like that, if that's an option that they wanted to do? If something quits working, it starts beeping over here or something?
Audible.
Yes.
So we've made something like that happen before on a different situation, to where if it did, turn off, we had a red light that would beep and make a noise. With the amount of equipment we have, it would be a little. I would definitely have to ask and see if we could make something like that happen, or see if there's a way to adjust the program to send out an SMS or something if something was to fail.
That'd be perfect, because that'll alert us before Elpro tells us that the whole building's melting.
84 is
for
like
example.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'd be beneficial if you could do that for us.
Agreed. Yeah. I have my notebook. I'll take some notes here at the end. I always like to get feedback, and then I'll reach out and we'll go back from there.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So now I guess we'll kind of work on the actual system itself. So we have a cell card here that's spinning. I mean, this is just so. But
1990s tech. yeah.
right. There we go. So this is your home screen. Again, it's just a tablet. So we're going to swipe up. Kind of the screen is black. You could tap it, or you can swipe up. To kind of move like your cell phone would. You're moving on to the next page. Now this is the carrier iView login page. I'm actually going to start all the way from the get, as if this was never up and the system was completely down. We'll work backwards. So I'm going to close everything out. I'm shutting down the system now. Okay, so the system is completely shut down now. Now on your left-hand side here, you see we have an app called iView Pro Server. And then you obviously just have Microsoft Edge as the internet that we provide on this tablet. So I'll speak a lot if we are troubleshooting terms. I'll say, what do you have at your dock? Do you have, the iView Pro Server open at the dock? Now, since this is a tablet, you do get a little finger heavy, or if it does happen, if this app is open twice or more than once, the system actually won't run. It'll try and initialize the system twice, and it'll just cause an error. So when I go ahead and double tap this, hopefully I can double tap it in one shot. And then we're gonna see a white box pop up here, and it's gonna go ahead and say system initializing. It's gonna start throwing some codes, and it's gonna start up. Once it actually starts up, it's gonna drop down to my dock here, and then minimize itself. And that means we're ready to go ahead and move on to the next step. So we'll do that. So there we are. So it says here system servers initializing, cell counters our system, and this is actually going to start up by itself. And then it generally takes about a minute or so before it does start up, and then it's going to go ahead and just drop down to my dock here.
You never realize how long it takes until you're sitting there staring at it.
I know how to hit this thing like 5 or 6 times. but-
Like, come on, is it working?
That's why I say even me.
You were patient. Your face was like, it's coming.
It's coming. after I double clicked it, like I said, sometimes it does take time, and even like I said, I do it all the time myself. I double click it. If you were to double click it and more than one open, you're not gonna just wanna close one of them and say, hey, I have one active now. You'll just wanna actually close them all out and then just reboot it.
Interfere with it.
Right. So now that that's dropped down to our dock here, we know that that's active. We'll go ahead and go Microsoft Edge, which is our internet service, and then we actually made a favorites tab for you as well. I heard one of you were saying make a favorites tab. We have that here in our favorites called carrier login page. We'll click that, and that brings you right here to your iView page, which we were at in the beginning. Now, you have your password here. Again, your iView login is going to be HVAC, lowercase, HVAC1234 is your password. And that's what we're going to go ahead and use to log into this system here.
I'm not sure that meets our security requirements.
I was just thinking, I was just smiling to myself because I was thinking of Spaceballs.
Exactly.
If you guys did want to change that password, if it's your system, you could change it as well if you wanted to. I could walk through that kind of.
We would just have to let you know, so if you had to remote into it, or
Right.
or you have an admin.
We have our admin user as well. HVAC is kind of your guys' user. So now we're into the system. So we have two categories here. We have user and installer. Installer is kind of going to be for us to adjust parameters and stuff, but user, we've given all the adjustments that you can make on both user and installer, but user is the way that you're guys going to want to navigate through the system. So we have our system tree here. That's how I'm going to refer to this side here, this column of drop downs. And through here, it kind of shows you each one. So we have one column that's VAV, RTU, and VAVs that work with that rooftop unit, which is going to be that other side. That I'm going to show you the thermostats later. And then we have our RTUs, constant volume, which just rooftop and a thermostat hanging down below. We have our DOAS units and VAVs, which is on the flip side of this hallway, where all those labs are going to be. And then we have our exhaust fans that we're going to go ahead and reference. That's that control that we have on the inside. We have cooler room temperatures, which are those two cooler rooms down there. And then we have a DOAS 1 right now. And so we're going to kind of go through each of these categories and kind of break it down. So you'll want to click just the name of it right there. And when you click it, it'll actually open up a page here in the center that's going to show you some values. So we'll click on VAV, RTU, and VAVs. From this page here, you can get a reference of actually how well or not well that these boxes are operating via color code. So green is good, and then it works down all the way down to red. Blue is cooling, light blue is cooler, and so on. Now at this page, any of these names here that you click, when you click it, it's actually going to open up the box itself, and it's going to bring you directly to that box. So let's say this box here is VAV number 5. If this box is red, it says it's 90 degrees. I want to say, hey, what's going on with this box? I'll go ahead and just click I clicked the wrong one. That's okay. We'll stay on 6. Whichever one you click, it's actually going to bring you right to the page of the control itself.
Now, if you do this and you need to get back, you just hit the back arrow at the top, or is there a closeout? Or?
If you just wanted to go back, you could come back to this. You would click the top bar here, kind of how it looks the same. So they have a little arrow next to it, and you could break that down. Once you get the hang of the system and you realize, hey, I know where I need to navigate through, you can hit that drop down without needing to navigate the rest of the way. But in the meantime, when you first start, you'll open this up, and then you could get larger information of what's going on with the whole suite as a whole. And then if you did have any issues, you can go one by one to locate your issue. Now, once you open this up, takes you some minute here. This is actually the newest, latest and greatest, newest software that came out, which includes a trend data. And on this data, you can monitor between space temperature, damper position, and supply air temperature. Right now, this is monitoring space temperature from occupied to unoccupied periods. And then we have 2 dots here on the side, our vertical and horizontal bars, which is going to drag us left and right so that we could actually see everything that the system is doing with this new trend data. They now had to do that. Before, everything was right there in front of you, but that's how it is now. Inside of this, you have your 4 boxes, which again, this is going to be a troubleshooting term I'm going to go ahead and reference. You have a terminal mode, you have a linkage mode, you have your local schedule, and your linkage com. Now this is new, they went away from words, so we have linkage mode, we have a snowflake, meaning that we're in a cooling mode, and our terminal mode has these arrows, which just indicates that we have a fan on at the rooftop unit. Now the linkage communication is between these VAVs and that rooftop. Okay, so that's not the network that we have to everything. The network that we have just allows everything to communicate back to this device. But these 11 VAVs are linked to that one rooftop unit, which is serving that other space. So nothing else is going to come to accordance with them. So now from this page, we have our set point values, which are occupied, which is here I clicked into green. If I click into gray, that bottom side of the bars are unoccupied set points. Right now, we have our occupied set points for 68 for heat and then 72 for cooling. And this is kind of something I always like to bring up to discussion. You guys are controlling the system. You know how the building's going to operate. If those values, that's what we put for time being. If those values work for you guys, 68 for heat and 72 for cool, we could keep them that way. But if you wanted to change them, we could as well.
You've got also the remote temperature adjustments in the rooms, right? It's not just here.
The thermostat you're saying? Yes, each zone has its own thermostat.
So you can control it in either way, right?
Right, now this is the second thing that I'm bringing up. For time being in construction, we like to actually disable the ability to call for cooling and call for heating. I went this morning ahead and enabled it, and we are having 2 degrees now of separation, so we could go up 2 degrees and down 2 degrees. So we could go up to 70 from 68 and down to 66 and vice versa for cooling. So that's another thing I like to bring up. We're given 2 degrees right now for set point adjustment. We can give 4 degrees, we can give any amount of degrees you guys would like. If 2 degrees is good for now, we could work with that 2 degrees.
And each unit is
For
adjustable. So like if we wanted the office space, obviously you want it to be a little bit warmer, we don't want to set it. So for us, like in the lab, we would want it at 70 degrees. That's our optimal temperature, which is 20 degrees Celsius. Sorry,
right.
We do Celsius here, so
okay.
It's trying to convert it. But so it's right around 70 degrees,
sure.
70, 72, somewhere in there. So,
yeah. These space temperatures are good then. So optimally what you're going to want to see is 69, 70, 71. That's that middle area. During those periods, you're not going to be heating or cooling. You're just going to be showing a terminal mode with these arrows on it, just indicating that we have a fan-only mode. Until we go a degree below or a degree above, we're not going to heat or cool. And we have a 4-degree dead band between 68 and 72 per code. We're not going to come like 68 and 70. That's just too tight for the unit to respond from. So 4 degrees is our split no matter what. So if we did change it come winter time and maybe 68, 72 is not enough, we did 70, 74. We just always have to have a 4-degree split in between our heating and cooling set points.
Yeah, otherwise things are cycling on and off too much, and it can't do that.
Right. So, and then we'll move over on this box here. We have our space temperature right now, which is saying 68.7, and then you have this nice graph here, which is going to show you your same color schemes that you're actually going to see on that large print there. So we had a bunch of green boxes, we had some light blue boxes. Any of these colors is going to jive, and again, the more you get the hang of the system, you'll be able to recognize these colors on the overall and then work that way. I still recommend going through it, regardless of what the color says, but that's just how you'll be able to reference those. So right now it says we're 68 degrees in there, and if we scroll back up and then we scroll over, this is going to show us our box now. So this is showing that we have 57 degree primary air, our SCR electric heat. So all these boxes have ducted electric heat inside of them, where we have 0% on that, and then we have 58 degrees coming out. And we have a set point value right now of CFM value, of 70 CFM, and we're actually getting 72. And then you have your damper position here, which is 35%, showing what your box is. We've opened to a minimum percentage now because we are at 68, which is right at our threshold. So we're not going to actually push to go maximum cooling or anything like that. So we're just in a terminal fan mode right now. The graphic actually does move as things change. When this damper does open 100%, you actually will see the graphic turn. And then when the SCR heat lights up, you actually will see it glows red. But I always like to reference, like I said, your outlet temperature versus your inlet temperature. These boxes can produce up to 120 degree supply air temperature, depending on what type of primary air we have. So, but that's about all you're going to see on a VAV unit. So when you're referencing VAV, you want to say, do I have damper percentage and do I have flow? And then obviously we're going to check our outlet temperature. Those are going to be the most important values we're looking at. Because if we don't have flow, then the box is not going to operate. The same way if we didn't have, fan on, stuff like that. That's our main value is flow. So we're going to back out of this page here now. And let's say we're going to go to the actual rooftop unit that is controlling these zones. This graphic here, we don't have to do any scrolling left or right. And this is going to go ahead and show us what's happening for all those zones right now. So again, we have the same thing here, occupied. And this one for the rooftop is built a little bit different. You have this arrow here on the side. If you click that, you get that gray bar, and that'll go ahead and show your unoccupied values. And I don't think I went over that. Our unoccupied values are 65 for heating and 75 for cooling. So we'll want to stay in between 65 and 75 during unoccupied periods. Now, since this one, like I said, this one's built a little bit different, I hit that arrow, which dropped down and allowed me to access this now, and I can actually change these values right from here. And when I change any value, any parameter, any set point, anything, you're actually going to see this accept and cancel button pop up here on the top. You'll have to remember every time you'll need to hit that accept. Now it's kind of not going to let me do other things until I hit one of these two, one of these two buttons. It actually just gave me a warning now. It said hit accept or cancel. So you actually can't navigate outside of it, but you'll just have to remember any adjustment that you make, you're going to want to hit that accept. So right now I'll hit cancel for the time being. I'm not changing anything out. And again, at the rooftop here, we could go ahead and start from one side of the rooftop all the way to the other. You have your outside air damper here. This is your return air, which comes up, shows a filter, our DX mechanical cooling, our blower motor, and as you can see, the blower is spinning, our gas heating, and then our leaving side. So a couple important values we're going to want to look at here. Number one is we're going to always want to make sure we have fan on, because if we do not have fan on, the unit's not going to operate both heating or cooling. Okay, so we have fan on. It's showing at 73% right now, and then we'll move up, obviously, and then we'll check the mode, right? So that the VAV had those arrows showing kind of what the mode is, and the rooftop actually, if you ever are concerned what that is, the rooftop is actually going to go ahead and tell you we're in a cooling mode right now, or we're just about to wrap one up actually because we're coming up on our set point. But as of right now, we're still in a cooling mode, and we have 57 degree supply air. Just underneath the supply air, you have this inches and water column section in HGO, and that's going to be your duct static. That's kind of a secondary reference that you could use to make sure that the fan is running. So even if this image here shows fan on 70, any type of value, if you come over here to your static side and you see that you have 0, 0 or anything below what the set point is, you can actually use that as a secondary reference to note that, hey, maybe my fan is not running, or it's not running as it should be. So that's kind of how we're going to reference both of those things there. And this works off of, like I said, so this is a linked VAV with linkage VAVs. So we have our linkage set point, which is an average of all the thermostats for each of these VAVs get reported back to the rooftop. And that's how that rooftop's going to navigate based on the linkage set point, which is, again, an average of all the VAVs that are on that set of links. Going through the rooftop here, we'll open up the properties tab. If you were to ever make any adjustment, I could show you that now. So before I do that, actually, we have our economizer right now at 10%. That's a minimum percentage that we have. I know when I walk out of here, anything can change. Air balancers can change it, however you guys would like to change it. Let's say your 10 degrees is just forcing this unit to cool much longer because it's 120 degrees outside. We want to go ahead and temporarily close down that outside air damper. And then once we're back to normal situation, we will reopen it. It's always gonna sit at 10% right now because that's our minimum position. But I'm gonna show you any type of change in the rooftop. Our first tab here, we're gonna go to properties.
And,
Go
and
ahead.
so if I made the economizer portion of it, it will, what it does is in the spring and the fall,
Mhm.
when like the temperature outside is nice, it will use that air instead of actually using cooling from the unit or heating from the unit. It'll pull in that fresh air and just use that as air inside the building.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next
Exactly.
question about like spring and fall. So like whether you're heating or cooling, does the system automatically sense when it needs to flip from cooling to heating and back and forth?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all just gonna be based off your set point
So
values.
there's no manual like where we have to come in and like we walk in the building and it's hot as hell in here and it's because it's an 80-degree day in March.
Yeah.
We don't have to.
No, it's
Okay.
gonna, yeah, it's gonna
It's
automatically.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Now, I encourage you guys, this is your system, to go through it as thoroughly as you'd like and kind of see all the points that you have available and all the options that you can. But it's not often that you're gonna have to come back and follow after today and make any adjustments. But like I said, if you guys needed to, I'm gonna show you just a couple of values that you'll probably wanna adjust. So we're in our properties page here. We have a couple tabs. We have status, configuration, maintenance, and performance. We're actually gonna do configuration. So we're gonna wanna make an adjustment to the config of the unit. So once you click that drop down, it's gonna open a couple drop downs. You have unit configuration, your set points, which is that value on the graphic. You could change it there or you could change it here. Your alarm configurations, and then your service. So we'll just go through each one of them. In your unit configuration, you do have a lot of points here, and on the left you can reference the name. So the outside air damper, that position that I was talking about, is right here. So you have a vent damper position, DCV minimum position of 10%. And then you have another point that is called low fan economizer minimum position. And that's just gonna simulate if you're in a low fan operation, where do I want my economizer? And we have both of those values actually set to 10. Now, go ahead.
Do you also have like a work instruction for all this, like a document you can flip through and see all the screens?
We do. And I believe that's included in the closeout
It'll be in the
documents.
closeout documents, yeah.
Yeah.
Just so we're not trying to memorize all of them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I need references.
Exactly, yeah. But just to give you guys a taste of how some of the information that you're going to see when you go throughout here. But again, so that's one point here. Now we have lockouts. We have our cooling lockout temperature, which is going to save the unit and say, hey, at a certain temperature, we're not going to allow mechanical cooling for safety of the unit. We have our economizer high outside air temperature lockout, meaning if it is, we have that set for 85 degrees right now, or I'm sorry, we have that set for 60 degrees right now. So if it is above 60 degrees, we're actually not gonna wanna open to bring in cooled air. We're gonna wanna use mechanical cooling above 60. Now if it's 55, we're gonna go ahead and modulate our cooling mechanically down, and we're gonna use fresh air, free cooling instead. And these are values, again, that you can adjust as you feel fit the need. And then we have our heating lockout temperature of 85 degrees. So if it's 85 degree ambient outside, we're not gonna be firing gas.
So now these settings here that you have in there right now, are they the default or are they the recommended by you?
Recommended by
Okay.
us. Right.
Yeah, because for us, if we make any changes to this, we're probably gonna contact you guys to
Yeah.
see what the recommendation is. We'll let you know what we're seeing, and then you tell us what we should change it to. I mean, we're not gonna sit there and play with it and
Yeah.
maybe this will work, and next thing you know,
Do
we're
the
blowing up
experiment.
units.
Yeah.
We're blowing up units. So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you guys are the experts, so
Right.
we would always lean on you
Reference,
for what
yeah.
we need to be changed to.
Sure. Yeah. Like I said, that's great. So I got the card, and I have a couple cards in my pocket. I'll hand out as well. And I do actually have a sticker. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put on here. Oh, we have it already. I'm sorry. This is our phone number as well. So if my contact on the inside, actually, and I don't pick up, it does show our cell, my cell, our office, and stuff like that. But this is our service line. If you call this number, somebody in the office is gonna pick up, and then you'll get forwarded over to one of us. But again, on that note, we're not gonna kind of go ahead and go point for point throughout the unit, but you get the sense of if we did have to make any adjustments, you would make your adjustment, just click on the box, and then once you set a value, it's gonna say, accept or cancel, and then you'll move on from there.
Were you guys working on this on Saturday?
Was
I had a-
that gap in the output?
No, I had a missed call from a 224 number, so I didn't know
No, we're working on that DOAS.
DOAS
Yeah.
1.
That was your insurance, failing
You
you.
could call it insurance.
Your extended warranty is what
Well,
it
because
was.
I got it, and it went to, because it actually went to my work phone, like my desk
Oh.
phone, so I didn't know if it was somebody, no, there was no message left or anything like
I've been
that.
getting spam calls with my work phone too.
Yeah.
Well, I just noticed a 224
Oh.
area code, so I was wondering if.
No, that's not me. I'm 708. But again, so on that note, we'll move away from the rooftop on there. You can navigate again back through all of these. So we're in properties. We'll move back to our graphic. From our graphic, we can see these things. And again, as the unit works, it's gonna actually show you when we're in a cooling, mode. We have compressor 1 on. Now we're right at the cuff, so this thing's gonna take a minute and probably adjust and turn off of cooling. But if we were,
Right behind him.
that's okay.
What do you need, Ever? Come on in, pal.
If we did have both, circuits running and so on, you'll see it'll say on and off. And the values work really well with the graphic.
So when we were on that previous screen, there's a few of these that were changing color between green and blue.
Okay.
I saw that this one's at the border. When it's close, does it dither between green and blue, or does that mean it's going below and then above and then?
On temperature-wise, you're saying?
Yeah.
So green
that-
is our optimal. Green is that 68 and 72. That's our dead band that we want to be in.
Mhm.
And then blue is just right underneath. Blue's on the colder side. So right now, a minute ago, the screen's probably going to refresh here again as I'm speaking, but we're at 68.2 now. So we're actually at the very bottom of our threshold. And we're going to want to go ahead and let off a cooling and kind of modulate back upwards, 69, 70 degrees and float, and then naturally just let it get back down, and then we'll force cooling again from there. Does that kind of answer your question?
It's within reason, yeah. I was
Okay.
curious more of like a user interface type thing, how it kept switching between green and blue when we were looking on there.
Yeah.
So it's probably at the
Was
lower
that-
level, just getting ready to.
Yeah, does that mean
shut
it's getting
down
ready to
for a
do it,
while.
or does that mean it's actually turning on and off and on and off and on and off?
No, that means it's probably just getting ready to do it. It's just modulating with the temperature. And then once it actually does, again, that mode is going to go ahead and change from cooling. And you'll see a couple modes. You'll see a fan only mode, and then you'll see heating, and then a cooling. And then it's not going to say, let's say it's really hot in here and you have both stages of, compressors, mechanical cooling running at the roof.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to say cooling. And then through this screen, you're actually going to just navigate and find out, do we have 2 stages? Is our fan at 100%? Are we at maximum cooling capacities? Stuff you'll look at, and you'll just check these values to kind of, see what the unit's producing. Yeah. Now we do have enthalpy sensors for the outside air. So let's say it is a colder day, but maybe it was raining the day before, or we are super humid outside. It will actually modulate based off humidity as well, which is a big thing that a lot of people get tied up on the K, on a rainy day or a sunny day with big humidity or vice versa. We are reading enthalpy outside. So
What's the trigger point for humidity?
I want to say it's 45%, which you can adjust as well. I believe it's 45%. I know some of the DOAS we looked at yesterday are 55%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, obviously, like the server room has, well, actually the whole lab, we have requirements for the whole lab for humidity.
What's it below?
I think the low end is 30, I think it's 3070.
Mhm.
I think Rudy was saying it's 3070. I always thought it was
I think
2080, but
Oh yeah.
80's pretty high.
It's almost wet.
I think I was thinking, because that's what's in the lab guard. It's the whole 2080, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Okay. So
so
then we'll.
set so that the alarms didn't go off.
But is that a set point? So if we said, what, we want to keep the lab at, between 30 and 60 relative humidity, is that a set point so it'll adjust based on that input?
So that's just outside air input. So that's not going to be space humidity. That's just saying, hey, it's outside.
If it's above 45, you're not going to use.
Right. We're not
outside
modulating
air.
inside humidity based off that. Just free
We're not controlling
cooling.
humidity in the space then?
No, we are.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be.
That value, I'm just saying, is for outside air.
Yeah.
No, but you can definitely set it so the rooms are within a certain range.
Correct. And then from the thermostats, you could actually see as well. I believe we'll double check on the thermostats, but
Yeah, because that was going to be one of my questions when you got done, was because I was looking at the one, and it's like at 72% or something like that.
So that's space.
Yeah, the
Probably
space,
what
yeah,
you-
so that's, I know you're going all the rooftop units, so that, I was gonna wait till we get into that to discuss.
Yeah, which is fine, and we'll kind of move on to some of the other things that we have here. It's going to be fairly similar. So the next one is our rooftop units, constant volume. You have 9 constant volume rooftop units, which is just a rooftop, a drop, and then it serves a general space. There's no VAVs that have to link to it or nothing like that. And if we kind of click any of these, you'll get to see as well what these rooftops are operating at. So we load here now. When we'll come down, it's going to be the same thing that we're going to want to reference. We have our mode here, which is a fan for this rooftop unit, which is going to be fan only. And then the graphic is going to be a little bit different due to the newer controllers that came in all these rooftops. They do have the newer software, like I was saying earlier, this visual that you're getting now. But it is almost the same when you go to each and every. You have your space temperature here, which you're going to want to reference, and then as your rooftop goes on, again, you want to check your fan status first. Fan command is low right now, it's on, and then the supply air temperature based off what you need, gas, and then again your damper percentage, which is the same, going to be the same for all the units until either an air balancer wants to change or you guys just feel 10%, maybe it's too much. And so the rooftops are all going to be the exact same. They're all constant volume units, and again, you have 9 of those, and you can just modulate in between them and see, what's going on. Again, when you do click this page here as well, you're going to get the same type of screen that you got here. So we do have 2 yellows, right? So these are at 72.70 and 72.40. I don't play it by the decimal. The colors are going to play by the decimal since it is a computer software program. It's in yellow now because of that 0.70. We're just over the cuff of 72 degrees. So it's kind of saying, hey, we're a little warm in here. But the equipment is not smart enough to work off of decimal values. Like that's just, the control is going to give it to you. The sensor can make it happen. I'm not going to base something off of a half a degree.
So you basically use whole degrees.
Right. And equipment's going to work better that way. Like if it's 72.3, we say, why am I not cooling yet? It's really hot in here.
72.453. Just get it down to
Yeah.
thousands.
The thousands, right?
But again, you'll get this page for each. Every time you come back to your system tree and you click that here, you're going to get an overall, and then per unit for unit, when you want to double check, you'll click each of those. And we'll move on from there.
So now, do you recommend coming in and checking that daily or as needed? Or?
As needed. Once we have all these values set up, the equipment's going to run and modulate and do as it should to make these set point values. You really won't have anything to kind of adjust. But it is great to, if you're on site, and I don't know how you guys are on site, but if you are on site, you did want to peep in here and see what the equipment's doing. If we're not remote entirely by then, it's a great reference, I would say. It's a great reference point before you have to climb on the ladder or grab your tools and stuff like that, or call somebody to look at something. You could get a reference here.
Grab our tools and head to the rooftop.
I got a hammer.
Yeah. Before we get the hammer out,
the reason why I ask is just because everything for us is regulated. So
Yeah.
if we say that we have control of the units within our space, we don't have to rely on somebody else. They're gonna come back like auditors and things like that. It's like, well, do you check it? Is there a form involved? Well, how often do you check it? Things like that. So,
Sure.
That's what would be nice to have an automated alarm to say, it stays within these ranges and it alarms us or texts us anytime we're outside that range.
Right. Which is definitely something I'll look into, seeing if we can make something like that happen. I'll have to remember one more time before we.
Because when we do audits and things like that, it's always doomsday. Well, what happens if this? What happens if that? What happens if that? So
Sure.
the more responses that we can get back to them, saying, "Oh, we have this in place. We have that in place. We check it.
On top of it.
two
Right.
week, twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We check to make sure that everything is working okay.
Sure.
Things like that. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely, I get it. Just so that you're not, the system's not down, because you
Yeah.
guys don't have a sequence of, checking this
Yeah,
unit and stuff like
exactly.
that. Now, We'll get to that, but now on moving on here, so we have our DOAS unit and VAVs, which is on that side. Now you're going to see actually a bunch of these boxes here are red, and this is a good indication that you're going to want to say, hey, what's going on with these boxes? So those are the return boxes. Now on that side here, we are controlling actually the incoming air and the leaving air going back out of that room. Those rooms are extremely pressure sensitive, and that's why you're seeing this. So we're not actually working off of temperature on the return side. So you have 6 return boxes, 7 supply boxes. On the return side, we're actually working completely off pressure dependent controls. So we're not referencing against space temperature. That's a negative 999.
Okay.
Right. So on our supply side, again, it's just a VAV, the same as I was showing you earlier. We can click any of these. This is going to show you what we're bringing into the room, and then on the leaving side, which is on the return, we're doing everything off pressure controls. And you'll actually see now I have them all finished up. We do have as well actual Magnehelic gauges on each door frame next to our pressure pickup plates as well. And we have each one of those labeled. They're smaller silver pickup plate. There's no screen on it or nothing like that, just a screw. And from that point, that's how we're going to modulate pressure of those rooms on the return side leaving. So when you are looking at this, again, you're saying, hey, I have all red boxes, that's a huge problem. We're not reading values.
Yeah, you'll see
on
it says
that side.
VAVR.
Yeah, for
So
the
return.
Return.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at to make sure that we can see that there's that it differentiates between.
So that
Right.
color is only concerned with temperature. It doesn't give a crap about anything else.
Correct. That's a great, correct. That's not going to tell you, hey, I'm not operational. That's just concerned on temperature. Correct. Yep. And again, the VAVs, I think we did speak on it, but I don't know if we made any adjustments. I have 2 degrees right now, up and down. Are you guys are fine with that, or do we want to go ahead and make it 4 degrees, or maybe we sit on that
Where to the lab?
for the labs as well? We could do them for
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it for anywhere.
any of them.
So you probably have more flexibility in the office to go 4 degrees, but I think you want to tighter.
We can tighten
Yeah.
that up.
Yeah.
So leave the lab at 2 degrees and open up the office space to 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We'll do.
Depends who's in the office, maybe 10, 20.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
That's what I was gonna say.
It'd probably be better on the one. Yeah, can you do like 2 and 4?
I was gonna say, how much freedom do you want people to have?
Yeah.
Because I can, as soon as it goes down, that 4 degrees. So if it's set for 68 and
Let's say you give them
Obviously.
5 degrees and they think it's 63 degrees. The unit will,
It'll be cold.
over time, it'll make it there if you do give them all those degrees.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I would rather have more on the higher end than on the lower end. So I don't know if you can do that, like 2 on the lower end, 4 on the upper end, or if you want to keep them the same.
It's
Both
just,
on each side.
No.
It's plus or minus 2, plus or minus 4, because you say minus 2 plus 4.
I
you
think
cannot,
it's gotta
no.
be the same.
Yeah, it's just 4 degrees of separation that we can go both up and down.
I'm wondering if
Probably
you would
wouldn't.
the set point, raise the set point and if you make it 4 so that it
Yeah.
only goes down to 68 instead of something like that. Is that something?
No.
No.
You guys are ahead of the game. That doesn't exist yet. And we're just on a standard split of 4 degrees up, 4 degrees down. Now, this is not a
Well,
universal.
no, what I was saying is like if you have a set point, so if you're putting the set point at 70
Okay.
and having 4 each way, if we put the set point at 72,
Mm-hmm.
then it would only get down to 68 instead
With
of
4
going
degrees.
with 4 degrees.
Sure. Yeah, you could modulate the set points based off of your separation.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
would definitely
Yep.
want the office warmer than the lab space. Because the
Okay.
office, people are literally just going to be sitting there typing on the computer. You're going to get cold, whereas in the lab, you're going to be moving around, you're going to be walking, you're going to be doing things, you're going to have the lab coat on. So we would definitely want the office space to be warmer. So
Mhm.
if we set that at
72. You might even say, just given what you said,
70, 74.
if you did let's say the lab at 70 plus or minus 2, maybe the office is just 72 plus or minus 2. Because if it truly drives down 4 degrees or up 4 degrees, that's probably too much of a swing.
Yeah.
Just like your point, set it higher.
Okay. So for the lowest space, then we would go 72 and then 4 degrees 76 for the office, and you'd be able to go down to 70 and 74. And those are your middle points for the
yeah.
office
So if
side.
you set the office at 72,
That's the coldest
Plus or
it's going to
minus 2.
get. Plus or minus 2.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to take notes. Don't forget. Yeah, we'll do that.
yeah, we would be. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of people complaining.
Right.
Um,
Well, and you guys are gonna have to tweak this you know,
Yeah.
have them come back or whatever and do some
That's-
tweaking as
that's
you guys
what-
are moving in and
Yep.
people are getting into the space and
Well, that's what I
things are
was-
still getting hooked up and
That's
stuff
what I was
like
gonna
that,
ask
you
too,
know.
because I know there's gonna be, I mean, there's gonna be a difference if we, like, if none of our project managers are there and you got like 6 people in the main office space, opposed to now we got everybody, we got auditors, we got guests, next thing you know, you got 30 people in that office space.
And 70 is too hot, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna need to go back, so I don't know if there's a good time to break, but can I just step up? 'Cause I think you guys are gonna go for a little longer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can only stay for the first hour.
You're fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
I don't think anyone makes
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, everyone's gonna be different. I mean, so if we tell them, like, I mean, if we can get as close as possible, because, like I said, in the office space, people are just sitting there. I don't know if we get corporate snuggies or what, but
I'm looking on that because I'm buying stuff right.
because I'm like at our office now. I mean, there's people in there sitting there with like sweatshirts and jackets and stuff
Heaters
like that
on,
on,
yeah.
and I'm sitting in a room and I got like sweat rolling down my face because you know I'm walking and doing
Yeah.
things like that. So.
No, it is a zone system, so each VAB is its own zone.
That's
So
what I was just gonna say,
those-
too.
Those values are actually not global, so each one of them can have their own set point. So if you have somebody, you know, maybe sitting on the perimeter by the windows and stuff like that, and they want it, it's always really hot in there, they want it really cold, and then the neighbor unit always is cold and they want it really hot, you can actually do that and achieve that with the zoning systems. And if, let's say, somebody is abusing the temperature and every day you walk in and it's really high and it's really low because they're always messing with the thermostat, you can actually give them no degree of adjustment. So you have the ability to enable or disable the adjustment feature, and then you have the adjustment range, which you can adjust as
I
well.
might do it to people just to piss them off.
Yeah.
We don't want you coming in anymore. You're gonna be cold.
If you want,
come into the condensation layer around the door.
Yeah. This, on the VAV side, you actually have less values than you would on the rooftop, although that giant drop down, it's gonna be a little bit different since it is just a damper and an actuator. We're not actually, you know, controlling a rooftop like we would. So any type of adjustment, again, parameter wise, we're gonna wanna go into properties. And then in here, we're gonna wanna go to configuration. And then we're gonna wanna configure the unit, so we'll go to unit. And then you have your adjustment range right here, which is at 0. And you can make this, again, I said we had everything at 0 for construction period time, and I can make everything 2 or 4. We wanted to say we were doing 2 degrees for the lab, and we were raising the value in the office and doing 4 degrees in the lab. Or did we want to also do 4 degrees in the lab?
No, actually, it would be. I think we were gonna leave both at 2.
Okay.
And we were just gonna raise.
Just gonna raise the
office.
yeah, the like
Gotcha.
the medium point, the set point.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so that's what we'll do that. And as we move down now we're here at our exhaust fans controls. Now, we're not reading value on these, so this is just a white blank. We're gonna actually have to click into the exhaust fan to see what's going on. The exhaust fans now are running off of a schedule. At the end of this, we'll actually configure a schedule here. I'll configure it in front of you guys. You let me know what days are operational, time, you know, Monday to Sunday. But right now we have them as 24/7 operation. So it's gonna say my schedule here is occupied. My command for my fan to be on is on, and my actual status transducer is reading on as well. And then our graphic here is spinning, saying, hey, we do have the exhaust fans running. As we click in between them all, if for some reason we're commanding this on and the motor locks up, or something terrible happens, you know, and the blade, you know, gets out of spin, whatever, out of whack, and we're not actually picking up status, or a breaker was turned off accidentally, it'll say here, command on, status is off. And then that'll give you the heads up that, hey, we need to mechanically see what's going on with this piece of equipment.
Yeah, it's good because at our old lab we had one of our exhaust fans go out, and we had no idea
That it
until-
wasn't-
Yeah.
yeah.
Until you actually started playing with the fume hoods and everything like that.
Right. So that's a great reference. Like I said, the great reference to work off of. The exhaust fans are super simple. You're not going to go into properties. You're not going to make any adjustments because we're not reading values and temperatures and things like that. So this is all schedule based, which I'll show you here the scheduling groups in a minute, how we can create different groups. You can create as many groups as you want for as many different pieces of equipment as you want. I have created, I'll click on it now. I had created one scheduling group with all the pieces of equipment in the building, and then we're gonna go ahead and make a schedule, and everything's gonna modulate off of that. Now, if you had, this can be, you can customize your schedule. Let's say the lab space is 24/7 operation, 7 days a week, no matter what, you can make a schedule so the equipment on that side will operate at that time. So I don't know if that is the case or not. I did
Yeah,
put
yeah.
everything in one group for right now.
Yeah, because most of these are gonna be for like the fume hoods and extract like that area, correct? Is that what we're looking at? Yeah, so
Right.
we're gonna have, you know, chemicals and things like that, so you're always gonna have to be extracting out of that area.
Right, and that's fine. That's what we have them now, is all the way occupied. We'll have to grab a general schedule though for the rooftop units and the other, you know, units that are heating and cooling, just so that we're not running those 24/7, unless that's how you guys want them to, you know, like a 6 a.m. to 3 shut down type of sequence, or.
Well, so even during off hours, we have to keep within a temperature range. So I know you were showing like off time and that.
Right.
So if it's, like you're saying, if it's below 75 for cooling,
Yeah.
that should be fine. We just have to stick between like a fifth, like I think it's 18 and 25 degrees Celsius, and I can get you those ranges in Fahrenheit.
Okay.
That was me what I was recommending. If you can get some of that info, we
Yeah.
can pass it on to them, and he can sort of set all that up
Yeah.
based on what that needs to be.
Right.
Because even during off hours, we have to keep that, because we'll have certain reagents and things like that in the lab that have to be within that certain range.
Absolutely. Like I said, it is a control system, and we can get as creative as we can with the system to make it work with the building. I don't know what this building is, but I know I can catch the gif that there's, you know, important rooms and, you know, things going on in this building. So by any means, we can make any adjustment for certain pieces of equipment throughout the building to make them work. But here's your scheduling groups. Weekly, as of today, I have them all sitting in one schedule. And as the days go on, if we need to break them up, you can. And this is where you would make that happen.
With the increased temperature in the office, that's not gonna mess with the same slides that are going to the pathologist, because I know they're gonna be leaving stuff on their desk all night.
No, so the office space is totally separate from the lab. So like the lab, we have to keep within a certain parameter, but the office, we can make that wider or even shut down on the weekend. I don't know if that's feasible. I know our other lab, they used to shut down on like nights and weekends, and now they're having nothing but problems with their rooftop units. So
Sure.
I would rather not shut completely down,
Mhm.
but you know, like, yeah, but you can just expand it. So if we have it set for 72 in there, and our range is between, you know, 78 and whatever during off hours,
Yeah,
whatever.
you just lower or
Yeah,
raise the
yeah.
temperature based on the season, so that way
Yeah.
it doesn't run as much. And yeah, and then
Yeah.
as that's what you're saying, is that, you know, if you come in at, you know, 6 a.m. or whatever it might be, at 5:15 or whatever, it
Yeah.
ramps up to get back to a temperature, so that way it's comfortable when
Yeah.
somebody comes in or
Yeah.
something.
Right. So we'll have to get, yeah, that we can get, you know, based like 68, 72 is our occupied, 65, 75 is our unoccupied. As of right now, I'm 24/7 operation, so I don't have an unoccupied today.
Yep.
But we can create an unoccupied if you wanted, and then once you get those values converted, like you said, at all periods of the day, we need to have a certain value. Again, we can make that adjustment that way.
Yeah,
And
so,
that's,
yeah.
yeah.
We'll definitely get that for you. So I mean, it's going to be pretty simple. It's probably going to be like 7 to 7. We're going to be optimized, you
Yeah.
know, at our optimal, and then anything before or after that, we would go down to like our off time.
Absolutely.
And then weekends we can lower it. If somebody comes in on like a Saturday or something like that, they can just deal with it. I mean, it's not going to be that much of a difference.
One person in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's exactly the info I was looking for. And then kind of, that's it. As we go on, we'll work back to our top page here. You know, cell Carta, and that has these values here down. And you know, as you're using this system, you'll want to reference everything here on this system tree. You go through it. If you did want to add, I'll show you now. If you did want to add a user or change your password or anything like that, we have these 3 drop downs on the top right side. If you click those, you'll come in here to System Options. You can enlarge that. And then you have your operators, which is, we have our admin operator, and then you have your HVAC operator. And inside of there, you can click Change Password, force user to change the password at login, exempt from password, And if you wanted to add a whole new person here, you could click add, and from there you can choose what you want to allow them to use. You could make them a guest, a power, a standard. You can give them any type of capabilities. If you guys did have another maintenance contract come in here or something like that, you just want them to be able to reference temperatures and values and not make adjustments, you could make something like that happen.
Okay.
Just so he's not here messing with it and all he should be doing is cleaning, you know, or anything like that.
I saw on that page on the right hand side it says reports. It looks like just over to the left of where you're at.
Oh, the trending data?
One more over. It looks like reports.
Reports?
Yeah. So I don't know if that's something that you guys would ever need for any of the auditors or anything like that.
I think the
Yeah.
Elpro one is going to be more precise. than
Well, this one here, I mean, I think we would need just for like maintenance. So like if somebody came in and did a maintenance, if there's a maintenance report, does that get done? Can you do that here, or is this the report just kind of how it's operating?
How it's operating.
Yeah, how it's been
Right.
operating. It's been at these temperatures. This fans have been running or not running or whatever
Correct,
the case might be.
correct.
So I just didn't know if that would be information that you guys would have to give to somebody at some point or not. Just saying the option was there for something if you needed it.
Correct.
Yeah, that might be something that we want to keep internally. And we can talk to Rudy about that, like what he wants, if he's going to be doing stuff like that globally as well. Like, do we want to just have a monthly review or a quarterly review of make sure that everything's operating, or even go back in there and look and see, you know, maybe we need to tweak something because it's not running optimally or something, you know, the most efficient manner. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about the Alpro. That's probably a better spot for some of that stuff. But I just,
Yeah,
in
that
case
was-
there's some information here that an auditor or whatever needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for this system here, mostly an auditor just want to make sure that there's a maintenance. So if we say that we do a quarterly maintenance or
They might get on those
a yearly
actual trending
maintenance,
data.
that's all they want. They just want to see the paperwork that the maintenance has been done.
Gotcha.
And everything's based off of our SOP. So if we tell them that we're only doing a yearly maintenance, then that's what we do as a yearly maintenance.
Right. Now, when I click here next to reports is your trending data. You can grab trending data from any piece of equipment that's in the control system is going to trend its own data, and you can once you click, you have these little triangles. I think I spoke about it earlier. You have them over here as well. Anytime you see that, obviously you got to drop down underneath, and you can see from there what, you know, different values. You actually have a lot of different data that you can go ahead and trend. Right now, I believe I was clicked on supply air, temperature, and you have a whole lot of values that you could click from, ranging from supply air, space temperature, occupancy. Let's say we do have a schedule, and for some reason the unit doesn't go occupied when it should and stuff like that. You can actually trend back and see, hey, when did my fan start running, or what was my supply air at 7:30 a.m.
And can you adjust the
This is just trending what the unit's
doing
doing.
now?
Yeah.
Like within like 2 to 4 hours or something.
Right. You could actually go.
Can you zoom out of the scale and try and, there you go. Perfect.
Some Star Trek level stuff.
Yeah. And then once you do click onto here, you have a little counter box
Is
here.
that what you were looking for or something?
Yeah, just see
For
like,
the-
if you
for
could
the
adjust the
timeline?
time frame.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So when you hit save, does that create like a CSV, or what does that do?
It just creates a saved, you know, plot, a saved trending plot, and through here you can actually grab different trends the same way you would be able to grab a report and just save into the system, and then you can export.
I'm gonna say you just get a USB or whatever.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, you could trend. This is a lot on the troubleshoot data, or if you've had a space that's not, you know, keeping up with demand, you can kind of see how's the unit occupying, stuff like that. But you can trend any of the data that's in here. We have a lot of pieces of equipment on this thing, but you do have this trend chart, which is on the top here. And then
There's lots to play with.
there is. Honestly, that's why I say this is your guys' system. I recommend going through it, taking questions, taking notes, asking me, calling us, and we'll work back to what we can, you know, help you guys out with the best.
We'll just play with everything. We just won't adjust anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we want to avoid doing to not break the system, other than saving random values to all the different parameters?
To avoid.
Yeah. Other than
I mean, it would just
double clicking the thing. Other like
Yeah, I mean, it would be making changes.
Just make it
If there's anything you saw that somebody did to break the system without realizing it in the past or something like that.
Yeah, no, just honestly just making changes, not realizing the change that was made possibly, or because you do when you do open up more of the configurations, if you change one configuration and say I have a variable speed fan versus a single speed fan, other options are actually going to diminish and go away because, hey, we've eliminated that now. You can change heating from gas to electric, and when you do that, it's going to take away stages and stuff like that. So one change can actually alter half a page from 50 values up to 10. And then at that point, you're like, oh my God, what did I change?
So we call an adult.
I lost I lost all my values. You know, where did they go?
Just don't let Brian touch it. You'll be fine.
Yeah. And if you wanted to see what it looks like on the installer side, just, you know, when you are playing with it again, I recommend doing, you could do everything that you need to on the user side, but on the installer side, this is kind of for our page. This shows us, you know, what is each controller and the version and the downloadable files that we've, you know, inputted in each control and stuff like that. But again, everything that we're gonna do.
I was gonna say, in the closeout documents, are you gonna have something that shows like what the values you are that you guys set at? So in case for some reason we do come in there and play with it and we save something and we're like, oh shit, what did we do?
Yeah,
we can go back
we're
and
changing that center temperature, and then we switch to electric or something.
Right. In the closeout documents, it's a very long document that goes through each point, broken down, properties tabs to configuration to so on and so forth. And then this does time out after, I believe it's 25 minutes or 30 minutes. It times out. When it does time out, it's just going to say, you know, operation timed out, and then you'll just click log in. And when you click log in, you're going to see this page here again.
Okay. Does it say where we were at if we log back in?
No.
Okay.
You'll have to reset. Yeah, so if you're inside of a unit and then you know, had to step away and you come back and it did, you know, boot you out.
Will it cancel any pending changes?
If you didn't hit accept yet. So if you didn't hit accept and then it times out when you come back, it's not going to have made that change.
Okay. I was just concerned that maybe you go in there, you make some changes, you forget to hit accept, and somebody else comes along, changes something else, and accidentally sends the stuff that I was doing where I thought it disappeared. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
No, you won't have any of that. And then again, we this is a start page, so you have it in your favorites if this page is ever not here. And on troubleshooting purposes, we're going to want to reference that we have one iView server open at our dock, and then obviously our only internet source is Microsoft Edge, and there's nothing else on here. Now, once we do get internet, not necessarily for you guys, but this is, I guess you're asking what problems have I noticed. This is a tablet and it's got internet. But it's not designed. We have a lot of software on this tablet, like it's constantly working. So people will come in here. We haven't put it yet at the place we're at. You know, we don't have to, but restaurants and other stuff like that, we say, you know, don't go on YouTube, don't go on Facebook, don't download Facebook to this tablet. You wouldn't believe, it's honest. We put on here like
down there for the kids.
Yeah, yeah.
next thing you know, I'm gonna be coming in here and you're gonna be in there playing like games and shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
they said no, so I'll be good.
Other than that, that's about as deep as we would get today. You guys will, I'm sure, have more.
On the IT side,
Yeah.
have you worked with our IT person, Austin, about getting this stuff in here? Because if it's going to be on the network, I don't know if it has to jump behind a firewall or anything like that. So
I have not. But
Yeah, and I haven't had any conversations with him about it either, but I can talk to him.
yeah.
okay, yeah, I'm hoping that it can just go like on our guest network, and then that would be easy for you guys to get into it, and I wouldn't have to do anything with the firewall. That might be something.
Yeah, just bypass the secure one.
Yeah, we have 3 open spots here on our switch. We only need one to get to his switch wherever he has it. You know, in the room, I'm sure he's got 40, 50 ports on 10 different devices. But yeah, I guess one would be fine. And then we would just, like I said, bring it into this network switch here.
Yeah, once again, I don't know. Just since we're, you know, highly regulated, and you guys need to remote in and things like that, I don't know how all that works. It's
Absolutely.
something that you'd have to look into with the firewall and all of that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Is there a free USB port on this one? Oh, just a little bitty guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a single. It's okay. And then, okay, let's say for some reason you had to take this tablet out. We have 2 keys here, 2 prongs. They're right here on the inside of the cabinet. And then you'll just go ahead and, like I said, take that out. This USB is speaking to our router, which is all of it's coming back into this switch. This is a good thing to reference as well. This has a light on it, and then we actually have a green light on the inlet side of the plug, indicating that we're made back to the switch. If this device here does go bad, you won't be able to find that iView page. Even if you click it, it'll say like page not found, because we've lost connection from our router to our switch and
Okay,
so on.
So start troubleshooting there.
Absolutely. My first bet when this thing goes bad or something says, hey, the tablet's off or it's not working, I open this up. You want to check for all your lights, check for power, make sure this is lit up, and then obviously you just work your way back to the tablet. And then from there, any other, troubleshooting. There's not a whole long process about it. There's a little bit of patience, but anytime I find someone else tampering with it, I actually just prefer to shut everything down. I close the iView out, I close the Explorer website out, and then I just go ahead and reboot from the start. And then, like you said, if anybody was making a change and they didn't happen to finalize, we're back to normal.
Just going. Okay.
Right. So yeah. You guys have any other questions? I have to do those changes, but I'll do them when we're done, and I'll show you guys how I do them. But
I don't think so. Not now. I mean, later we'll start trying to actually.
Yeah, once
modify
we
stuff.
start
I mean,
going
maybe do
in
that
there.
under supervision to begin with.
yep,
Alright.
that's really sweet.
Cool. Thank you.
Fantastic.
No problem.